What is up, guys? It is the Sound Alchemist, and today I'm back to talk to you about Dungeons and Dragons. So lately we've been covering D&D in our podcasts that you can check out each and every Thursday, titled Dungeon Hammer. So Dungeon Hammer, we talk about Dungeons and Dragons for about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, about an hour, and last time we talked about creating our favorite Star Wars characters in the D&D realms. So obviously Star Wars has been popping off lately with they had a brand spanking new Mandalorian, then they had Jedi Fallen Order, the video game, and of course, if you're watching this on the day this video came out, then the final installment, Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, has been released. And as controversial as you guys have been saying that this movie is, I haven't seen it yet, so don't spoil me in the comments. I'm looking forward to it. The one thing that I really enjoyed about this new trilogy of movies is the special effects and how awesome it is. But lately I've been rewatching all the movies, and I've been watching Star Wars Clone Wars on Disney Plus, and I'm falling in love more and more with the character of Darth Maul. Now, if you've only seen the movies, obviously you would have thought, Darth Maul, he died in the first episode. Like, what do you mean you're falling more in love with him? Like, that's it, his story was over. But no, it goes deeper than that. He lives, even though he gets cut in half, he survives. He gets freaking robot spider legs, and then he gets regular robot legs, and his story is just so badass. Especially in the comics, it's even further explored there. He fights against Grievous, Dooku, Sidious, a Mandalorian. Yeah, his story, his whole background and everything about him is really, really good. He's almost beating General Grievous as my favorite all-time Star Wars character, and I think he might take it. But today, I wanted to cover the creation of Darth Maul in D&D. I went over this in the latest Dungeon Hammer series, but I wanted to go into it a little bit more easy, I guess. I felt like it was... I didn't go into each and every detail as much as I could in the Dungeon Hammer thing. And also, creating a video all about Darth Maul, I can get more of a better feedback between you guys as to what works best and what you thought about my ideas in creating this character. So without further ado, let's dive into this D&D creation. So first and foremost, Darth Maul, he could be played as a tiefling. More so, a lineage of Mephistopheles, because you get a +2 to your charisma and a +1 to your intelligence, and on top of this, you get Mage Hand. Mage Hand would be the perfect way to embody the Force. Essentially, you could use the Force to move objects, grab things, that kind of thing. Also, at 3rd level, you get Magic Missile, which you could use as like the Force Choke, or maybe you're using the Force Push, that kind of thing. And you can never miss with Magic Missile, so that's really good. And then at 5th level, you get Web, which it's a little weird, but I guess you could flavor it to be like, oh, I'm freezing you in place, kind of like using the Force to slow down enemies. Maybe it's a stretch. But anyway, we are going to be playing Darth Maul as a tiefling under the class of Warlock. Now, Jedi and Sith, there's many ways to run them. I've seen a lot of people do Monk, do Paladin, that kind of stuff. But I felt like the Warlock would be easier because you can take the route of the Hexblade, which I'll get into a little bit later. But once we have this, we want to focus on creating Maul as dealing a lot of damage, first and foremost, and the second thing I want to focus on is creating his lightsaber to be almost as spot on as you can with the D&D rules. So as I'm creating him, you really want to fit the whole focus of him on Dex, I want to say, because with Dex, this is all about his fighting style, and since he fights using the 7th form of lightsaber combat, he'll put in all his anger into his agility and his reflexes, and you'll be a powerhouse with your high initiative and high acrobatics feat. Next, I'd say maybe focus on con or strength. because you want to have high health, seeing as how you survive being cut in half, and you survive fighting with some of the strongest Sith out there. Sidious, for that matter, even though your brother wasn't so lucky. But anyway, strength would be another good thing to focus on since you could deal more damage, have an easier time hitting with your attacks. But how are you going to actually hit, or what are you going to hit with? So in the Eberron books, I believe, there is a two-sided scimitar. I want to say that's what it's called. Anyway, it's a weapon that you can hit for I think it's 2d4 damage, and then you can use a bonus attack to hit again for another 2d4. I think technically you have to be an elf to use this weapon, but you can still make it work, especially if your DM is very easy to persuade. And speaking of persuading the DM to your favor, is maybe you could persuade him to give you a magic weapon right off the bat, and that magic weapon being the Sunblade. Now the Sunblade is essentially D&D's version of the lightsaber. It's a melee weapon that deals radiant damage. It's pretty cool because it's either a finesse or a versatile, and it deals radiant damage, which could be the searing effect of the lightsaber, burning off flesh or whatever. And it also gives you a +2 bonus to your attack and damage rolls, which that's really good because as Darth Maul, you're fueling these attacks with your anger. If all else fails, then just use like a bow staff or a halberd, and then when you're picking feats, go with the pole arms expert, which gives you a bonus action to do like another d4 damage. I mean, when making a double-sided lightsaber, it gets a little tricky. It gets a little bit easier when you get to use the dark saber later on, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But continuing on with this creation, you want to go with the background of your character, and I chose criminal. Why? It's because Darth Sidious is kind of letting you meet these criminals from the underworld, and it might help, it might not. That's the only thing I could think of. But anyway, since you're a warlock tiefling, the closest thing to being Sidious is having a patron. So patrons are really awesome for warlocks because it makes you very specific to a certain theme. At first, when you're thinking of making Sidious your patron, you really want to go with the Seeker. Now, Seeker is really good since it gives you access to spells like Jump, Featherfall, and these are very Force-like abilities. But I chose one that's even better, and the patron is your Hexblade, aka your lightsaber. So the Hexblade is essentially your black lightsaber that you will wield later on. This will also tie in with the pact that you will be choosing, and that is the Pact of the Blade, back at level 3. But anyway, Hexblades makes you a beast in combat. You get an ability that basically gives you a bonus to damage, you crit on 19 and 20s, and you heal if you kill your target. Since you want to be up close in your opponent's face within combat, this is going to be really, really good. The only downside is that it's a once per rest kind of thing, but besides that, just focus all your anger on one enemy and you'll be good. Now, since you chose this as your pact for your first level spells, you really want to go with Wrathful Smite. You deal a 1d6 more damage, and your target could get scared of you, which is a major hell yes, because Darth Maul is a scary dude. I mean, look at all these tattoos he's got, the horns coming off of him, and he's from Dathomir, which isn't a very nice place if you know about it. So Wrathful Smite, really, really good. And then the second spell, Shield. Basically, you're using the Force to protect yourself from incoming enemies' attacks. For your cantrips, definitely the true to the warlocks, you want to go with Eldritch Blast. And for the other one, maybe True Strike. I know it's not a good cantrip at all because you forgo one turn to give yourself advantage, but if you know you could be critting on 19s and doing extra damage, maybe if you're feeling a little gambly, you could go down that route. Starting at level 2, things get spicy because you get Invocations, and this is where the Force really shines as a way of using your Eldritch Blast. So forget all the other invocations, there is only two that you have to get, and those are the Grasping Eldritch Blast and the Forceful Eldritch Blast. So what these do, they allow you to push and pull your target enemies for 10 feet, which is really good, especially since you're going to be hitting things with your lightsaber, and you're going to be hitting them hard. Use your Eldritch Blast to deal that damage, pull them closer, so that next turn you get smite them. Or maybe they're really close to that shaft in the floor, and Obi-Wan's looking mighty tasty. Use that Eldritch Blast to push him 10 feet into the hole, where you're going to stand menacingly at the top because you're about to get cut in half. That is so annoying in episode 1. Like, he could have killed Obi-Wan, but no, I'm just going to stand at the top of this hole, swing my lightsaber just at the rim of this shaft. Anyway, let's continue on, because the other spell you get is another first level spell called Expeditious Retreat. That's a weird word, which gives you the dash action, but I hate this spell because at level 3, that's when things get spicy. Switch this Expeditious Retreat for Blur. Blur is amazing. You're basically so fast and agile that enemies trying to hit you have disadvantage. Great, I love it. And then the cherry on top is Branding Strike. With this, your lightsaber burns with hatred as you deal 2d6 more radiant damage, and if you hit, then the target sheds dim light for 5 feet. Essentially, it's the burning scar you left on your enemy that sears their flesh. Now the other thing too is at this level, you get an ability called Burning Hands because of your Mephistopheles lineage of Tiefling. It's only once per rest, and I don't know, like, what could this mean? It's a flame cone. Maybe you're just using your lightsaber to attack. I don't know. So you can flavor it however you want. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got, and I really wanted to... I didn't want to go so deep all the way up to like level 10, level 20, because most of the time I feel like you never go up to those levels in a campaign. Level 3 is like that sweet spot where you could start a campaign at level 3, or once you hit level 3, you really know the direction that your character is going to be going in. So with Darth Maul, I think we hit a lot of things right on the nose. First and foremost, you want to be a tiefling. Secondly, you want to focus on hitting hard and hitting them at the right time. So your Eldritch Blast is how you get the enemies right up close with that lancing and grasping Eldritch Blast, and then you want to make sure that you're targeting key characters that you want killed, because that's how you're going to crit and do more damage, and also heal, because if you're fighting them one-on-one, you're probably also taking hits, albeit not as much because of the shield and the blur abilities. And then once you do kill them, then you could heal after your battle. And then with your weapons, you could make it a packed weapon, or you can just have that very nice DM of yours give you the Sunblade, or that Revenant Blade from Ereborn that you could really use to flavor a double-sided red lightsaber, or your black lightsaber, the Dark Saber. And yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this character creation for Darth Maul. I know there was one put out by Tulok on YouTube. He made one with the multi-classing of Paladin and Monk, and that turned out really cool. I, for one, just wanted to focus on Warlock, because Warlock is the only class that I've really enjoyed playing in D&D. Not to say that I've played all the classes, but so far, this one has been really cool, and I thought that Darth Maul, using like the smite abilities and all that, really fit really well with the Hexblade, so I wanted to try that out, and it seemed to fit perfectly. So again, let me know what you guys thought about this character creation for Darth Maul. Be sure to check out Dungeon Hammer, our podcast where we talk about all things D&D. And if you like Star Wars, let me know what you thought about Rise of Skywalker. And that's all I got for this time. Be sure to like and subscribe for more things at Warhammer 40k, as well as a little bit of D&D on the side. Also, hit us up on Patreon if you want to support One Mind Syndicate, because a simple $1 a month goes a long way to give you guys great content. This has been the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll be catching you guys in the next one.